Everybody, Zach Joyner here. This episode, we start a couple of different things. And this is a great episode to get started. And we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff this particular episode. So welcome to the new episode of Spideydude Experience. And we're about to get started. All right, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Spideydude Experience. This episode is powered by our friends at Patreon.com. Patreon.com/Spideydude Network. Big thanks to our Patreon subscriber Vinkman, as well as Scott. We got a new patron. Scott, welcome to the Patreon page. So before we get started, I want to get that shout out back, of course. Thank you for your support. And if you want to see what all of us is about, head over to Patreon.com/Spideydude Network for information. Shout out to the episodes. Getting episodes early, coming later in the show this month. If you like this show, check out the other episodes of our other shows, such as Make Mine, Make It, From the World of C2, Amazing Spider-Man Classics, and the Classic Spider-Man Stories. Season 2 is coming later this year. Lone Sire Chronicles, a show that is important to it was the former flagship show of this one, and I'll tell you why it's important in a minute. Chronicling Tales of Spider-Man, Clone Saga from yesteryear, as well as the modern things and characters. Spectacular Radio, the show that gives you behind the scenes look at the spectacular Spider-Man cartoon. You get the family friends as well. All these are available, of course, on your favorite podcast show, Show Jazz, Spotify, Google Play Podcast, and Apple Podcasts. We, of course, want your voice to be able to go and listen to that at Radio Network at gmail.com. Another way if you want to be part of the show, have your voice on you're listening to the Patreon. So just like us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, usually live on Wednesdays and Fridays as well. So leave us a review on your favorite podcast you do our best to future show on the show in the future episode. For those listening to the audio version, of course, please excuse references to visual aids and or comments as these shows, of course, live streaming in most cases to our YouTube channel, live on Facebook and Twitter simultaneously. So thanks for joining us, and I get to introduce this particular episode. I get to introduce good friends such as Neil. Welcome, Neil.
Check your private chat.
Oh.
We've been texting, we've been messaging you for the past 3 or 4 minutes.
Oh no.
We couldn't hear anything. We couldn't hear anything you were saying.
All right, well, take 2. God bless. All right. That's good.
It's all right. It's all right to start again. It's okay. Honestly, I mean, I'm being 100% serious. Just start again.
Yeah.
Put up to start again.
All right, we're doing. I love live shows. Okay, sorry.
Turn it down to like 50% of what it was.
Yeah. I accidentally bumped it all the way up, and that was not intentional. So
no.
Pump it up.
The live people are just getting a show, man. This is how it works, yo.
You guys are getting all of it. So sorry, Omelet.
You get all the words.
Did I call you Winkman? God, I screwed this.
Wankman.
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 Wankman. Oh man. Hey, where's Wankman?
This is going to be a fun one.
Pictures of Wankman.
Wait, are we talking about Nonstop tonight?
Nonstop Wankman. Where is it?
Take 2. Good God. Never have I ever had this happen before. All right. Hello, I'm Zach Joyner, webmaster of Spideydude.com, executive producer of the Spideydude Radio Network. Welcome back to another episode of the Spideydude Experience. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode. So before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our Patreon page, our Patreon subscribers, Vinkman and Scott. Thank you for your support. And if you want to see what all the fuss is about, head over to patreon.com/Spideydude Network. For more information, perks include the shout-outs at the beginning of episodes. You'll also be getting the episodes early later on this month for when we do shows live. So Before we get, they also will have some more perks coming on later this year, like exclusive episodes as well. So if you find this show, check out episodes of our other shows, such as Make My Mayday, where we cover the world of MC2, Amazing Spider-Man Classics, which we cover this classic Spider-Man stories with season 2. Will be starting later on this year. And Clone Saga Chronicles is a show that's chronicles the tales of the Spider-Man clone saga of yesteryear, as well as the modern takes on those characters. Spectacular Radio is also a show that gives you a behind-the-scenes look at the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon and gives you the fan perspective as well. All these are available on your favorite podcatchers, so be sure to check them out. Remember, we want your voice to be heard because we like to interact with our fans. We want to give a big thanks to our Patreon subscribers. I gotta fix that. Voicemail line 818-925-6631 is the voicemail line for the radio network. Be sure to tell us what show you're calling about and leave your name and like I said, where you're calling from, your name, and what show you're covering. And because it's all for the entire radio network. Of course, you can also leave us an email at SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com. So you can also, or if you're listening to us, you can always join us live, and we'll take your comments live on air. So just like us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. Be sure to turn those reminders on, as they'll tell you when we're going live and stuff like that. So leave a review on your favorite podcatcher, and we'll do our best to read it on the show in a future episode. So for those listening to the audio version, please excuse references to visual aids and to our live comments, as these shows are streamed live in most cases on our YouTube channel, Facebook, and Twitter simultaneously. So without further ado, I want to introduce our panel. Neil!
It's me, Twitch Thought,
Bogan Writer, host of the Bogan Writer Variety Hour.
That's the thing I do.
That is a thing you do. And then Paul,
Hi.
you got a new YouTube channel.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah. I started a brand new YouTube channel called The Comic Binge, and it's an extension of my podcast, and it's going to hopefully become more than that. I've got big plans that I haven't even announced yet that are past now. It's crazy. I've got lots of stuff I got planned, but I'm just so excited to be also a part of this great show. So I can't wait to kind of grow the channel with Spideydude. What's that?
Even when the host royally screws up.
No. Hey, I screw up all the time. I mean, look at I screw up all over the place. It's all good. Oh, who cares?
Not me. I'm perfect.
Listen, if you want a comprehensive discussion about WandaVision and the comics that form that particular show, definitely check out Comic Binge's YouTube channel. And
I also did a
subscriber. So,
hey, I also had Adam on the show for like a fun live stream, and Adam was awesome. He got to meet with my buddy Chris, and we all talked comics. And then I dropped my first official short view video reviewing last week's Swamp Thing issue, which was great. So more short views are on the way. They're not that too hard for me to put together, so I'll probably do a bunch of them. So expect a eternal short view of the last 3 issues soon.
Nice. Yeah. Of course, you can always watch Bogan Writer Variety Hour 8 p.m. Saturdays at twitch.tv/Quillsniv. That is the Bogan Writer Variety Hour. Speaking of Adam,
I also do other things.
He does do other things. He's on Crawl Space's satellite show every month.
Well, I also do gaming on Twitch. So if you guys like Destiny or Dungeons and Dragons, I do that.
Yeah.
There you go. Hello, Adam.
I used to play Destiny.
I'm here. Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Dude. Adam revealed his love for Doom Patrol last week, and I was like, okay.
I haven't read the comics yet, but I really like the show. But the show made me want to read the comics.
Well,
so,
but when you eventually get the comics, we'll talk about them. Because that's the first trade. So, Comic Binge. Me and Adam, we're gonna get on that.
Yes.
It'll
happen someday. Probably soon. Who knows?
It will happen sooner than you think, my friend. Sooner than you think.
Yeah. So obviously these are not a part of the network, but they're affiliated with the network. Like Bogan Writer actually is affiliated with the network. So they get to do their own stuff, but I always want to give them the opportunity to talk about things. So
I may not be a part of its official network, but I'm part of it in spirit.
Sure.
That's the way I like to see it.
So obviously we got our introductions out of the way. So tonight we're going to be talking about a couple of issues. Originally, I was just going to do one issue, but then they're like, "Hey, cover this big new number one, this big new shiny new number one that
Yes, sir.
that is a thing."
I can't wait to hear.
It's the comic that it was the comic that would perpetually delay itself.
Right. Neil didn't think it would come out, but
I genuinely thought that it was just a publicity stunt and it would never come out after like a year.
He was wrong.
And you,
I honestly can't wait to hear what Paul has to say about the last pages of that issue.
yeah, all right. So clearly and something happens at the end of ASM tonight that I'm definitely going to have to be talking about for a little bit because it's a thing.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. So, all right. Tonight we are going to be covering ASM 61. I don't know why I put 863 because I did that wrong. Let me fix that right quick.
862, I think.
It's 862. Yeah, legacy numbering 862. Fat fingered that one, but yes, this is the issue. I got the standard cover. I didn't get any of the variants.
There was that one by the guy who did the Marvel Comics 1000 page. I don't even know his name, but that was the one they advertised on the front page.
Right. New costume, new job, new era, new Spider era begins here. So this is kind of phase 3. If we're kind of talking a little bit about the setup, we've the four of us have kind of talked about this on and off throughout the show's existence, but really phase 1 I consider to be 1 through 29. So 802 through 830. That's kind of a really clear line. And then issue 831 through 861 is kind of the second phase. And now we're kind of in phase 3. So very interesting book. We'll talk about it. I just wanted to share the screen right quick because to show it off. I'll do the recap right quick. We open with a brief recap. Speaking of recaps, with the first page of the issue, kind of recaps the last couple of months, and then we get a Shocker robbing a bank and
Speed Demon.
Yeah, and Speed Demon both, and
Hydro Man.
Yeah, Hydro Man, Speed Demon, and Shocker are robbing this bank. They're fighting Peter in
Paul. You're muted.
Paul, you're muted.
So sorry, I have a quick question for you guys about Hydro Man because I have this issue with this. Okay, I think Hydro Man's a lot more powerful than that. Like it's in this what these panels show. Speed Demon, Speed Demon's a little bit similar. Shocker, not as much. I mean, they're all deadly to an extent, but Hydro Man's kind of a powerful character, and they make it seem like a schmuck in this. Do you guys agree?
Well, Speed Demon's inherently powerful, but superior foes made him out to be kind of a idiot.
Agreed.
After, I think the last time I saw Hydro Man and Amazing Spider-Man was in that was one of the slot issues where
it was ASM 666 just before Spider Island.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh. It was Stefano Caselli did it, and he froze him.
He jobbed the spider. He used like a spider tracer like a cryo spider tracer to freeze him.
Yeah.
That's right. I read the slot run, Paul. I liked that bit.
So this issue
I don't even remember. I haven't read that in so long. I forgot. It's been a minute.
I mean, it's been like 7 years, I think.
Yeah, it's been a long time. The Amazing Spider-Man. Let's Try Something New is the name of this particular book. Written by Pete Spencer. Patrick Gleason's the artist.
Yeah.
We cut to the Kingpin having his cabal of various crime lords, having a conversation about what he requires in return, and goes throughout pretty much the entire issue. And we go to Fred Myers, of course, being mentioned as Boomerang. Everybody hates him.
That joke will never get old. Like the fact that like every major crime boss just hates Boomer.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
So, brief recap of Peter and Boomerang kind of going through and trying to find the Lifeline tablet. We then cut to
real quick. Can we go over the locations that they find these things in? They have a sewer, a building site, a library, a giant ball sack, and vermin clones.
No, that's the Liberty Torch. It's not a ball sack, dude. What the hell?
Oh, Neil.
Middle Ages. Oh, Jesus. All right, moving on.
I heard
So-
the new Pokemon is good, Neil.
We got back to Peter and Fred. They're at the apartment, and they're playing Call of Duty Latveria when
Which is so good. I love that.
suddenly Gog destroys the television. Again,
Here's the
apparently.
cables, yeah.
So Peter is using his means of photography to try to get on the algorithm and do cute Gog pictures. So the account
It's a
hit,
hit. It's a hit.
but then Peter decides he really needs to go find a job. It's not really generating any revenue.
Actually, that was Fred.
As far as
defers
I
the blame.
as far as I know, well, I do like the reference to Lockheed from the X-Men,
Yeah.
Yes.
but I think they
Lockheed's
mentioned
good.
like there's a couple of sponsors, but I'm assuming that it was mostly just like they get free dog toys rather than any actual
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting sent free, probably experimental dog toys. So we then cut to how desperate Peter is for a job. It's Nora Winter's desperate. So, needless to say, he gets shown around at the Threats and Menaces again, and that's when we get introduced to this new costume for a gift for the friend. Cut back to Peter fighting Hydro Man and Speed Demon, as well as Shocker, getting back to the fight that begun the issue. Really dynamic page. Then kind of going back and forth where Nora then puts the mask on. Nora,
Can I just say it's hilarious that like in her lust for news, she doesn't realize that the mask is a perfect fit for him.
yeah. So she's all like showing him how everything works, and then we get reintroduced to the man in the chair himself, J. Jonah Jameson. That's right. Jonah is seeing it as a means of opportunity. And so basically, Peter's going to get paid twice to work for Threats and Menaces.
That's gonna bite him in the ass later when like the checks bounce.
This whole thing is gonna bite him in the ass. It's great.
Well, yeah, but that part in particular has like tangible money
Yeah.
consequences.
So, needless to say, we then get kind of cut back to the fight with Jameson kind of yelling in Peter's ear, telling him to do various things like throw the one-liners out there. The audience poll, they want to see a web muck. And there's an audience poll, and so
It should be explained that this suit is like it's like a VR thing. People
Yeah,
can like hook up into it.
It's kind of weird. Like they kind of assume it's like a regular Twitch stream, but there's also a VR component, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like a melding of different and various technologies. Basically, they've got the cameras built into the lenses to where Peter can broadcast live on Threats and Menaces as he fights. The audiences can participate. There's various little bits, and apparently there's some sponsorships. So Peter, that like there's like a firework that says "You Undies."
I love like those three. Spencer is a master of those 3-panel visual gags. Like there's the one in
Right.
ASM 11 where like there's the Jonah and there's the Kingpin and Spidey billboard, and Peter turns around and goes, "That's Photoshop."
So then we cut to real journalists at the Daily Bugle talking about everything going on, and
That was a low blow, Zach. A low blow.
Hey! As a Twitch thought, I take offense to that. You shut your mouth.
I'm just channeling my inner Robbie Robinson. So
That's
Robbie's
fair. That's fair.
Robbie's meeting with Glory and some other writers at the Bugle, and there's a big expose on Lonnie Thompson Lincoln, aka Tombstone, and then Glory's kind of throwing some more stuff in there whenever Robbie leaves to go talk with his son. So that's yeah. So this
is going to end well.
There's a lot of this is going to be a great arc.
This is actually like a really dense issue. Like a lot of people said, like
Yeah.
not a lot happens, but like there's 3 or 4 different plot points running
all-
simultaneously.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's setting up. All this stuff is set up for, and it's going to be concluded probably by the end of it. So
Yeah. So did you update the flowchart?
Yes, I did. Oh, I even added highlights.
Nice.
Neil's
Okay.
flowchart's insane.
We'll get to that when you get
Wow.
to we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay,
We finished the recap.
Get it ready. Get it ready, though, Neil. Get it ready.
I have the notebook.
So then we cut back to Kingpin, and we're finally getting to the point of what this whole meeting was about. Basically, whoever brings him the head
I love this.
Well, alive. He wants Boomerang alive.
a utterly literal get out of jail free card.
Silly, but it works.
I
guess.
assume it's like I assume in the Marvel universe there is a Marvel Monopoly with like Iron Man
Yeah.
as a Monopoly man, and I love that idea.
That's great.
Tony Stark is Mr. Moneybags.
Yeah.
So we then cut to L. Thompson Lincoln thinking he's like, listen, that'll certainly benefit me. Cut back to
You got to do it in the Keith David voice.
I cannot.
That's too bad.
I'm
That's a
not
good
going to
point.
try. At least not for now. I'm not going to. Yeah. So we go to how they have found Spider-Man's weakness and they're going to exploit it. Peter is wrapping up everything that's going on with the Hydra Man and Speed Demon as well as Shocker. And then we cut to the final page where Bullseye, because they basically said we're the distraction. Meanwhile, Boomerang's at the park with Gog, talking with some chicks, and Bullseye's got his aim, and you have one order, Mr. Mayor, and the Gog gets it.
Real quick, I thought back to that page from Superior Foes where it's like comparing their Twitter feeds. You got Bullseye fighting Wolverine and Madripoor, like 1 million hits, and then Boomerang's hanging out in the park with his dog, gets like 1 like.
So meanwhile, at the end of the issue went.
I was like, no.
I was honestly more like scared for Gog than I was for finding out who Kindred was. That's how attached I am to Gog.
Yeah.
And then on the very next page, something happened.
Uh-oh.
And I've got to share the screen because I got to explain this particular element of why I'm probably going to be incredibly biased, and I'm going to give I'm going to explain that I don't care. So here we
Very
go.
special issue.
That's the wrong screen.
I was about to say, yeah. Well, there wasn't even a screen, so.
No, I was. It's different on Firefox than it is on. So here it is. This is the letters page. I'm gonna zoom in. Top right-hand corner. Who's that? Who's that guy? Oh,
It's you.
Yeah.
It's you.
it's me. I got published in today's Amazing Spider-Man.
To quote another Nick Spencer book, his Ant-Man run from Superior Iron Man, oh, you're one of those people.
Yes, I am. I don't care. So let me kind of explain. I wrote this letter back in November, right after issue 53, because I went back and looked. And so I'm going to briefly read it. If you'll indulge me for a second. I said, Dear Spider Office, wow, just wow. I've been reading Spider-Man since 1995. I was a child of the Clone Saga, survived the Mackie Byrne era, enjoyed the JMS era, largely was disinterested in the B&D era, although still read it. And Slott's run was very hot and cold. For years, I did not feel the need to write in, but here I am. Nick Spencer, thank you. Nick Lowe, thank you. As someone who has podcasted about Spider-Man since 2006, I have reviewed many issues over the years, hundreds. I tried to find the good in all, old and new. For the first time since my childhood, I feel Spider-Man is fun again. It's interesting again. Thank you for making MJ part of the book again. Thank you for making Norman and Kingpin Spider-Man villains again. Thank you for making me care about Fred, Randy, Carly, Nora, Craven, Chameleon, and even Chance again. Thank you for making Harry the absolutely crazy lunatic that he should have always been. Thank you for Ryan Otley, Humberto Ramos, Patrick Leeson, and all the other great artists this run has had.
You said thank you, Humberto Ramos?
I did.
That was that actually Paul got beat me to it. Good
I was
lord.
like, wait, hold on a second. Do we got to rewind those shows again?
Listen,
I know you like a on time and with plenty of time Humberto Ramos, not a rush Humberto Ramos. I get it.
Exactly.
I get it.
I'm just almost we got for much of the run was some of his best Spider-Man work, in my opinion. So
not a
flipping you.
5-bar.
I'm just flipping you. We good. We good.
continuing, I said, thank you for making Spider-Man excellent month in and month out again. I always felt for the guys who came aboard and picked up the pieces that were left on the floor when One More Day hit the shelves. On mine and Stan's birthday in 2007, they had their work cut out for them. While I'm sure many came back to the title, it felt like things were off for a long time. For the most part, Mr. Spencer has been able to address them one by one, and now the cloud and scepter of One More Day is being addressed and embellished. It's the literal third rail that felt so avoided and needs to be discussed and maybe even enhanced. During the plague that shall not be named, I reread all the runs, looking at the clues, picking up on things I had missed. When it came to 850, I was like, yes! Best Goblin arc since J.M. DeMatteis' spectacular run in 1997-1998. Where Norman Osborn is just an absolute jerk. Can't use adult language in a Spidey comic. I haven't in years sat and wait for the regular issue, but I am here. The reveal of Kindred was maybe teased a lot, but there seems to be
Boy, that leg. Oof.
a bigger, more important story here, and I'm along for it. Thank you for bringing Bagley back. He was sorely missed, and I can't wait for him to get into his groove and be the Bagley we all know, love, and drool over his artwork. Not literally, we got to keep the books meant. I know this year has been difficult, but please know that your hard work is paying off. These last 50-plus issues have been a treat, a delight, and they are epic in scale. Keep up the excellent work. High regards, Zach Joyner. Response, thanks for the kind letter, Zach. Nick S. is doing such a great job and seems to be, dare I say it, a kindred spirit to you. Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Nick, Pat, Mark, and the rest of the team have so much in store for you, and I can't wait to hear from you as it all comes out. So that, my friends, was the letter that got printed today by me.
I think people forget how like important the letters page is because it makes people feel like their voice is being heard, even if it's kind of just more obligatory than anything. It still makes people. It still gives off the people the feeling that their voice is being heard by the office.
Well, if I may, I remember like when Al Ewing does the Immortal Hulk letter pages. I really like them. He does a great job of being very personal in them. And you guys, I'm not sure how familiar you all are with Savage Dragon, the Eric Larson comic book, but back in the day, I'm not sure if he does it anymore. He'd answer everything himself and would talk a lot about answers, very honest answers about things. And I love that. In fact, I got printed off in a Freak Force comic book that was Eric Larson's team book at the time, and also a Star Wars Droids issue. If you look up Star Wars Droids, the first miniseries, Dark Horse, issue 6, I'm printed in there, and writer Wyndham responded. I got to talk to him years later about it. Very nice man. So anyway, it's super cool. I love letters pages. They're great. I mean, look back at those old Amazing Spider-Man comic books. George R.R. Martin, Kurt Busiek, they're all in there. It's great. Like it's people, like you said, Neil. It gives them a sense that they are listening to us, even though it's not the same necessarily as real printed email or mail. Excuse me, it's email, but I think it's still important regardless, like what you said.
Yeah, like I say, if you want to know how they're doing, drop a line. It's SpideyOffice at Marvel.com, and just be sure to put OK to print. And they'll, they may or may not. Look, I wrote that letter thinking, okay, I'm not going to get printed. It's never going to see the light of day, but I still wrote in. And I never, like I said, never expected it to happen. Right after my letter was a very negative letter.
Yep.
That was like the opposite of what I had to say.
Yep.
Guy did not like it. Long time, 30-year, veteran, and was very, disenfranchised with the tone of the story and how dark it was. And look, it was a dark story. I mean, anybody that's watched these streams knows that we talked about a lot of things we liked and didn't like. Listen, I've been on cloud 9 all day. Nothing, literally nothing could put me out of this mood. I've been in such a good mood today. So, all right, we're going to go around the horn. Paul, your grade is...
Sorry. I thought you were going to put it up for me.
Well, yeah, I was going to let you say it.
Oh, you're so good to me. It's an A+. I love this comic book. I absolutely adored it. There's so many different reasons why. And I personally think that what I love the most about this comic book is the fact that Nick Spencer has managed to somehow take all these old aesthetics from the Spider-Man comic books that we all love and grew up with that maybe are outdated, like the pictures and things like that, and is giving us a different take on that idea. And he's literally, it's very meta what he's doing, but it also works. The whole idea of the costume being this an extension of him taking pictures of himself as Spider-Man is essentially the same thing, but it's modernized a little bit. Now, it's a lot more dangerous, absolutely, and it is like what Adam was saying, there's going to be repercussions from what's going on, but I love the fact that it's literally an up-to-date version of that. It's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You can nitpick a little bit of the characterization that Spider-Man wouldn't do this. I think there's some validity to that, to be honest. I think that I get that, but at the same time, I think the biggest trump card, and in the middle of it, I was like, I don't know if Spider-Man would do this. And then literally when they said, what's the difference between this and taking pictures of Spider-Man up close? I went,
Got a point, actually.
Like, touche. So that to me, it eliminated everything. And I thought it was a great job of, again, like J. Jonah Jameson being like the point person. And there's ways, I mean, yeah, it's loosey-goosey, but I thought it was great. I thought this was a fantastic introduction. And I'm going to say it right now, people. I'm going to say it right now. This costume it's growing on me. This thing's growing on me. Like I at first I was like, this is complete dog crap.
We'll grade it separately.
But I think like I'm in, and I think the origin of the costume is perfect too. I don't know. Have they, and don't go crazy on this, but have they announced or have they explained who made this costume?
Not yet.
I have a theory, and I'll talk about that.
I have no theory. So, but I will say that it's really cool the fact that they all set this up and everything. I just love it, and there's a mystery behind it. It also sets up the fact that this could be a potential future Spider-Man character, like by itself, just like the Iron Spider costume, because it's a whole separate costume. So I'm kind of into it. Like I gotta say, Neil, your boy Gleason freaking knocked it out of the park on this comic. The art is so good. It's so good, and not just the art. Now, in my YouTube video, as I'm going to plug right here, about Swamp Thing, I bring up when I grade something for the short views, I don't grade it as art. I grade it as storytelling, and to me, that's the most important thing of a comic book for the most part. And Gleason can draw pretty pictures. The storytelling in the panels he lays out here is so good. I mean, it goes from basic to just really dynamic stuff, and the page digital play page 11, I'm not sure if I want to bring that up or not Zach, but digital page 11 of him in the suit is just so dynamic. It's so cool looking, and it made me fall in love with the suit straight up. Like, I've seen stills and from the comic books and it's fine. This page by itself, page 11, made me just fall in love with the book or the look completely. So I love it. I love everything about it. It's great. This page right here.
That are listening to the audio version, I've pulled it up. It's where Peter is punching Hydro Man and kind of in the middle of the fight. We see the way the lenses kind of work, where they kind of widen and condense quite a bit. Very reminiscent if you've watched the MCU Spidey, like the way when the eyes are super beady. If you've seen
the instant kill mode.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
That's vintage though. I mean, like that's what McFarlane and Larson, they all did that stuff too.
Paul, I'm betting the guys at Funko made them put in the beady eyes somewhere in the book. They just had
like in a week.
Well, you know what though? The beady eyes aren't really prevalent in this issue, and I think I'm not sure if that's necessarily a. It went back and retroed it or whatever, but I think this look is not phenomenal, but I think it's a really good look. It's really grown on me. I'm starting to really like it, and I like the fact that it's serving a purpose. It's not just like I need a new costume, which I'd be fine with too. I love that stuff, but it's serving the purpose of a story, and I like that it has. I don't know. It's like I said, it's growing on me. One last page I'll say, and I'll move on, we'll move on to somebody else. Page 14, Zach, if you could just really quickly, please. Another great example of Gleason's great layouts. Look how great this is. This is just
Yeah.
4 basic panels with that. With the Jonah anchoring and everything.
Yep.
That's phenomenal. Like this is so good. I love it. Gleason has won me over already, but this makes me fall in love with him more and more, honestly. So I might even have to read Super Sons, Neil. I might have to read it.
He didn't do Super Sons. That was Jorge Jimenez.
What Superman? He did Superman with
He did
Superman.
Superman with Tomasi.
Yeah.
Okay, I might have to read Tomasi.
He also did Batman and Robin with Tomasi. So
that was the New 52 version, right?
mm-hmm.
Okay, I liked that book back in the day. I liked that first run. Tomasi's a solid writer. Anyway, I digress. Moving on.
All right.
A+, great book.
Your grade?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Okay.
You?
I'm like teetering between a B+ and an A-. I do like the issue. It's good. I think. See, that's the thing. I like that. I do like that there's a reason for everything that's happening here. Like, okay, Peter needs money, so he needs a job. Fred's basically saying, "Oh, this is your problem." Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna try to do. I'm trying to do this, influencer thing, but it's not making any money. So Peter, you take care of the money thing. Peter's like, "All right, I gotta go, and I guess I gotta go and work with Jonah and Nora again." But it works. Like, it's a good story hook. The costume's interesting. I was not expecting it to be a part of this workplace dynamic thing. Like, I wasn't expecting Nora basically giving him this costume. But it is. I don't know.
Wait, did you say Nora in the costume? You thought Nora was going to put on the costume?
No. I mean, like, she basically gave it to him. Like, she
Oh,
showed it
yeah,
to him.
yeah.
She's like, "Oh, this is for this is a gift for Spider-Man." I wasn't expecting that. I thought like Peter was gonna make this or something, like, I don't know, at school or somehow, like, I don't
Yeah.
know, like some kind of weird Horizon Labs kind of thing. I don't know. So that was kind of a curveball, and it's interesting that it ties into this new job. The fact that he's live streaming his Spider-Man fights, and he's becoming like, a Twitch streamer, a YouTube streamer, whatever.
I relate to him so much in this book.
Yeah. it's such a unique concept, because and it's like, okay, like Paul was saying, like, oh, this might not totally be in character, but Peter in the story acknowledges that. He's like, I don't know if he's like, Spider-Man, being Spider-Man is dangerous. This isn't like, a fun thing. This is dangerous. But then it's like, okay, he sees the paycheck and he needs the money. So it's like, all right, I'll give it a try. And guess what? The people really like it. It's interesting. It wins. It wins it makes him like, it wins the people over on him even more, I guess, which, there's always that thing where like, oh, people don't trust Spider-Man, or like the people love him. The old thing was the Daily Bugle hated him, but that's over. But anyway, it's a weird, unique refreshing of this old idea, like Paul was saying, and it works, I guess, or at least it works in this climate that we're living in right now, I guess. I think the suit, like the more I see the suit, the more I kind of like it. I think really the big thing is, even though I didn't mind the really small eyes, I think that having the eyes be big regular Spider-Man eyes but yellow was a good revision on Gleason's part. I was kind of joking like, oh, I wonder if Dustin Weaver is mad because Gleason totally got rid of the small eyes, but then you read the issue and he didn't get rid of the small eyes. They're actually there. They just move around and stuff. So I think it's a look that people are not going to like it. I think people are going to start liking it more. I said it before, when it's in a video game, people probably love it.
Contrarianism at its finest.
Yeah. What else? Like I said, like Gog's life being threatened, I was like, no, don't do it.
Seriously.
And I think that'll turn out fine. I'm sure like Gog will Hulk out and do a Gog smash. But I think this is a good setup issue. All this stuff that all these plots that people are like, oh, they're dropped, and it has been a long time.
Chart
But
time.
now they're the chart, as Neil brings out the chart. But the stuff's getting addressed, and I think it's going to be a fun ride. Just this, like, there's so many hooks going on here. You know, you got Tombstone, you got Randy and the Beetle, you got Kingpin. It's all coming together, and it's fun.
All right. Speaking of charts, we're going to jump over to Neil. What's your grade, Neil?
Okay, so this video is sponsored by Goldfish, by the way. Not really. Please don't sue us, Goldfish. So
They sue you. They want you to promote their stuff.
Is it Pepperidge Farm? Yeah, it's Pepperidge Farm.
Dude,
please don't-
goldfish are delicious, by the way. Like,
No,
great-
yeah, I have.
great-
Yeah.
I just have
Yeah.
this giant bag. Anyways,
right, I
I'm giving it
digress.
I'm giving it an A-, teetering on a B+, mainly because of some weird art hiccups. It's weird because it's that second to last page where the Boomerang Revenge Squad is hanging out, and it's like they're all kind of like just hanging loosely in the air.
What's that?
But yeah, this is a really solid issue to what is essentially this brand new era of Spider-Man. Venkman brings up a good point that Spider-Man becomes Screwball in this issue.
What?
I think it's treated. I was about to say it's treated with a lot more irony and made fun of rather than just like taken at face
Exactly.
value. Where like Jonah's like,
he doesn't want to do this.
You gotta read out the jokes. You gotta
Yeah.
there's an audience poll that makes you that we want you to the web muck, and then like a little flare comes up with
It's
the sponsorship.
perfect.
It's
And
Here's
Peter
the
does
thing.
not want to do it.
I love when Spencer goes into like the social satire well. Like when he
Yes.
just makes fun of social trends. That's some of his best stuff.
Right.
Especially when it comes to like being in the Marvel universe. Like the Iron Man Mr. Moneybags got a jail free card. Like those kind of visual gags that I'm sure he talks with his artists a lot.
Yeah,
I love
he
those
has to.
kinds of things. And getting back into the comedy and the fun stuff is when Spencer is at his strongest, I think. I'm not saying that like his dramatic stuff isn't good. I just find his comedy stuff more entertaining. I did have a theory about the suit. It's Chameleon. Because remember, if anyone here has read ASM 40, Nora is being funded by the Chameleon.
Right, yeah. That's a very good that ties that in pretty
Yes,
well, especially
and
in the for the next arc. So.
And speaking of which, it's chart time. Okay.
Baby.
This time with highlights. Okay,
Nice.
so everything in the Western Hemisphere or the Eastern Hemisphere
Eastern.
is what's happening in this arc, the Let's Try Something New arc. And then recently we got an announcement that the next arc is the Chameleon Conspiracy, which we know covers at least these 3 plot points. Plus probably this one, considering the allusion to threats and menace, the threats and menaces in this arc, and that Chameleon's funding it.
Mhm.
And so that's this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plot points taken out in less than 10 issues. And so I present to you the new and improved chart post Chameleon Conspiracy.
There we go.
So it's much less cluttered, and so that gives us more time to spend on separate plot points. Not a whole lot to say on that. This is assuming that everything
On our
goes.
Discord page. The Discord page link is up on Spideydude.com. You can find it there.
Yeah, the main chart. I will make a PDF of this chart too, of chart 2, and it'll be there. But
Yes.
I always enjoy going back to the Boomerang well as
Sure.
well. Every time he has Fred on, it's a genuine treat. I think back to Superior Foes when I mentioned Superior Foes earlier, but I thought of another run when Bullseye when they were in the church and Bullseye closed the door behind him, and then Fred takes out his girlfriend who turns out to be Felicia later, and he's like, "Take her instead. Do that thing that you did to Bullseye that you're really proud of." And I could just see that happening with like these 2 ladies in the park with their dogs. Boomerang throws them in front of the sniper, in front of Bullseye.
God. Please no.
But I don't know. I just really enjoy Spencer when he's poking fun at not only the social trends that are happening in America right now, which makes it feel very real if a little dated at times. But
Sure.
everything is always going to be dated with comics.
Yeah.
I mean, they had dial phones back in the '60s, so.
Yep.
But I also enjoy like making fun of even Marvel's own corporate culture, like making fun of the costume. The costume is. I thought it was going to be like something taken totally seriously. Like I
Right.
remember one of the
Yeah.
theories was like Peter was so badly injured that he needed the super suit to recover. No,
Yeah.
this is literally just they made it so that he could be a Twitch streamer, and I love that. Spencer, there's that meme about subverting expectations that people kind of exacerbate now, like, oh, subverting expectations is bad now, guys. But this is one of those times when Spencer absolutely nails it with like throwing our expectations out the window and just doing something completely different. So yeah, easy B plus A minus, definitely.
After chart time with Neil, we jump to me. So, okay, full knowing that this bias is going to come out. I'm sorry. Like, I know that my bias is going to be showing.
It's okay, sport. We love you too.
But, like, this was probably an A minus, B plus type of issue, but it got bumped, to a full bam to the very top. Yes, I know it's because my letter got printed. So I enjoyed but here's the thing. I really enjoyed the issue. I thought this was probably Gleason's strongest issue. Not related to Last Remains. I thought Last Remains was kind of like his, big arc where he got to kind of flex those artistic muscles. Really dynamic. He makes this suit look so much better than it is. And so I really do. I think his art, especially like on this cover is to me better than the cover that we're going to get next issue. And that's not like I don't hate. It's grown on me. It's been a couple of months since the announcement. There was a lot of people that didn't like it, but I like that it makes story sense. It's not just there's been some times where it felt like that they brought in costumes just to bring in costumes, and it wasn't necessarily just that there was any meaning behind it. And
go ahead, Zach. I'm sorry, Zach. Go ahead.
I like the elements of the fact that it makes story sense. I like that we've picked up finally from the Threats and Menaces bit that Peter's taking the job. I like how Jonah's portrayed here. Jonah is hilarious. He makes me laugh in this issue.
It's a good natural evolution of not only Peter's career but also the Peter Jonah relationship that we've seen since since Spec number 6.
They feel like partners instead of adversarial employee-employer. So yeah, I feel like that this issue does a really good job setting up the next several issues. It's very much a jumping on issue. This issue gives you like if you have this, there's very clear jumping on, jumping off points throughout various comics, but this one felt like the most, every issue is someone's first mentality that we haven't seen in a while because we've been so in the weeds with Kindred and stuff like that.
That's a great point, Zach. That's a great point.
This feels like, okay, phase 1, builds up to the reveal that he has the ring. Phase 2 builds up to the fact that Kindred's in the box, right? And the repercussions of that and Peter's angst about everything that's gone on. So that's where phase 2 ends. Now we're in phase 3. And so after all the dark stuff, it felt really good to have a very light story. And this was something that Neil pointed out before Sins Rising, that the story, like he tries to, pepper in some of the lighter. This felt much more like the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue that we really were hoping for, because Kindred got very, very in the weeds, very, very dark.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like a bit of a breath of fresh air after so much grimdark that we've gotten over the last few issues, which is necessary because obviously Peter's been driven to the point of internal insanity. And so last issue felt like, okay, we're addressing it. And obviously the big reveal at the end with the Mephisto reveal last week or 2 weeks ago, really felt like, okay, all right, now we're starting to build towards something. So I'm really, really looking forward to the rest of this arc and into next arc. And I'm always down for good old fashioned Robbie Tombstone fight. So give that to me every day, all day.
Absolutely.
Referencing Dan Race Zach in the waist.
Also, I forgot to mention it. This feels like a very strong evolution. I've mentioned in earlier episodes, and I think I mentioned it on Satellites once. So go, guys, go to Patreon. But
eventually we're going to do a full, like, I haven't figured out how we're going to do it. We're not going to, I'm going to try not to do it the way they do it, but eventually I'll do a show where we talk about more Spider-Man satellites.
But
I'm kind of waiting after, truth be told, honest to God, I'm waiting till after King of Black is done before we even start.
Oh, that's a good idea, honestly.
No, I can't do it.
But I forgot to mention it. But Peter's, I guess, live streamer, influencer / Twitch streaming career here seems like a very natural progression of his not only his relationship with Jonah, but of his career as the times have gone on. You know, photojournalism isn't as hot as it used to be, and so this provides a good way for him to, you know, have a job that doesn't feel like Horizon Labs. And I liked Horizon Labs, but that felt a little too super sciencey and convenient. Mm-hmm. This feels more like a do on your own hours kind of job that he would. And also, this is something I didn't think of before now. But anyone else remember Back to Basics, where Peter got split into two, and one side of him became a corporate sellout, and the other part of him became a responsible schmuck?
Yes.
That's going to come and backfire, I think. Like that you know, love of that need. I'm not saying need for money, but like, you know, the financial side of him is taking the bait, as it were. And I think that's a very interesting note that Spencer is kind of subtly bringing back.
It's all connected.
Very much agreed. I think this issue kind of brings that interconnected storytelling, and not that it didn't happen previous. It's just it didn't feel as fluid. Obviously, Kindred was such a big thing that it needed that space to really operate. But I'm glad that we're kind of pulling that back and going, okay, there's other things going on, Gog and Robbie and L. Thompson. I'm really, like I say, really excited about this issue.
Oh, yeah. No, that's great. Neil, that was a great point about Peter, honestly. I didn't think about that. The fact that we're going from the Horizon Labs thing, which I liked, and I'm glad you acknowledged you liked it too, because I know that's kind of a touchy point for the slot anti people, whatever. But I do think that the idea of having Spider-Man in something that is a little more, I don't want to say relatable, but something relatable. Yeah, exactly. And that it's also a callback. I think that's the big thing for me is, as I'm reading, I'm doing this kind of big, chronological read of Spider-Man. I'm so sorry. Chronological read of Spider-Man. I'm out of control. This whole chronological read of Spider-Man, and I'm at the point now where he's the student teacher at the Empire State, and but he's also the photographer. So he's doing those two things, plus he's Spider-Man. I mean, it's like, man, what's crazy is I can relate to that even now, and as a young man, because I was like in multiple bands at one point. I was burning the candle on 8 ends, and you're doing so much stuff. It's crazy, and I like the idea that they're giving him a job that he can kind of go in and out of, and he can have a reason to be there and to get in the middle of things. Where I think Horizon Labs, and I will admit to this, it's a little bit more formulaic of what you have to do with it, because that all has to be around science, right? I mean, it has around the
you have your cliche nerd stereotypes. You've got
exactly.
You got your fat neck beard. You've got. I'm not. That's not wrong. That's what Grady was.
Yeah, Grady Scraps. Yeah.
Oh god.
You've got
genius.
And they tried to work around it by saying you can come and go as you please. Blah blah blah. Here, to me, what this feels like is the natural progression of how do you make Peter Parker a photographer, but not but make it relevant for 2021.
Make it new.
Like Horizon Labs feels like the post scarcity Star Trek kind of career choice, whereas being on like Twitch like I mentioned earlier, doing your own hours.
Yeah.
Like that's the career choice for the working man in the year of our Lord 2021.
Well, I'll say this too. Horizon Labs was the realization to me of like what the Mackie Byrne tried to do with Tricorp, and then they just dropped it because it was Mackie, and he just dropped plot points, willy nilly. So I always appreciated Horizon Labs because that did have potential whenever Tricorp was introduced, and they did milk that for all it's worth. I certainly enjoy the Horizon Labs era much more than I do the Parker Industries era, which I will bring up in the next book we're reviewing.
Probably because he had a better supporting cast to bounce off of that didn't constantly it wasn't like
I
a
would agree with
revolving
that.
door of cast members.
I like Parker Industries, but I'm with Neil. Better supporting cast of Horizon for sure.
I think Horizon Labs it served double-sided purpose. The first was to give him the resources he needed to constantly make Spider-Man gear and new super suits that served singular purposes, and the other was to basically have your come and go job as you please, as long as you have an invention that would somehow conveniently tie into his next important villain arc. And you didn't have to worry. He didn't have to worry about money anymore. He had like this swanky new Tribeca apartment. And by the way, Tribeca is insanely expensive. If he wants to save up money, go to like, I don't know.
It's New York. Everything's insanely
Well, Tribeca is expensive for New York, especially for Manhattan.
Well, yeah. So, needless to say, all things considered, all things being said, all things being equal, I feel like this story did a really good job, and I think everybody feels this way.
Yeah.
The great thing with this issue is that our grades were lowest grade was Adam's kind of B+. So
Adam.
But he was
Can I one thing? Let me say one thing. This is more like just a little. It's like a writing thing that Spencer did. I love that in the first like 2 pages, he's like, Peter's like, oh yeah, I went through all this stuff, but nothing's really changed. Juxtaposed with the new suit. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, it brings up a comment that I was going to read right quick, saying subverting expectations can be satisfying, providing it's not overdone. Like The Last Jedi, where it felt like the director was saying, "Hey, your shoe's untied. Made you look for 2.5 hours."
Okay, can I be honest? Real quick, I hate how The Last Jedi has poisoned the subverting expectations well, because
You're not wrong.
as someone who really enjoys Knives Out,
Yeah, go watch that.
Johnson film, by the way, go watch Knives Out.
And watch Brick too. Watch Brick.
Brick is good.
Brick
Brick is good.
But
amazing.
my point is that like The Last Jedi poisoned the well of discourse when it comes to talking about expectation subversion, because now every time someone tries to like flip the switch on someone, everyone just goes to The Last Jedi and goes, "Well, subverting expectations is bad, guys," and it irritates me because it's made talking about plot direction and pacing utterly, I don't want to say toxic, but it's made it reductionist.
That's a good point. That's a good point. One thing I want to bring up about the costumes, and it's funny because I keep going, I sound like more and more like a anti-slot guy, I guess you could say, but I'm not. I want to make that for the record. I'm not. What I think is interesting is if I look back at I see the major costume changes of Spider-Man. Okay. There are, and I don't really count the slot stuff as major costume changes. No, I don't. I liked that idea what Slot did, but what I will say is what we're already getting with Spencer, and I think if you look back at all the major costume appearances of Spider-Man or Peter Parker 616 universe, that if you will, I will say that their costume always revolves around kind of a major story. So what's interesting is with the Black Spider-Man costume, obviously Secret Wars and all that stuff, we get the Iron Spider suit that also is a brand new kind of like into the Civil War. It's a big purpose. It only served a short period of time, and the black suit a little bit more longer than everything else. But
it has staying power because of when it was introduced and how often and how it has a dual purposes, like Peter's angry suit.
Yeah, and which again, I'm not sure we talked about Adam on our last show, but I think, or what show I talked about it on. I brought that up. I like the idea that he went, back and forth. I think it was last episode actually, or our last show. But what I love about what this kind of does is it introduces a new aspect of Peter and it's gonna be a plot point. It's gonna mean something. It's not just a flashy thing. Which again, there's nothing wrong with having Flash in your comic books. There's nothing wrong to having a costume change within, for fun, or which I think Slott did, and I thought he did it well. But what I like about this is I think there's going to be more of a emotional characterization impact of this costume than the other ones that Slott brought in. And that's what I'm kind of looking forward to. And I think that's what is kind of in the tradition of the Iron Spider suit and the Black Spider-Man suit. So
yeah, there are going to be consequences to this.
I'm willing to bet because I mentioned my theory of like Chameleon sponsored this suit because he's using it to gain like intel on Peter or something. And I think that like it sounds like
Chameleon's MO kind of.
It sounds it's exactly what Chameleon would do. And I think that it'll cause Peter to reflect on whether or not, selling out is a good thing, even if it pays really well. I know we've kind of had this storyline before with Peter Parker paparazzi, but this feels much more in character for him because he's not like actively being malicious in his intentions. Yeah. He's with Peter Parker paparazzi. There was sort of active malicious nature to his job performance. Here, he's not actively harming anyone.
And a community is being built around it.
Yeah, he's building a brand rather than just taking pictures of celebrities' personal lives.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it.
Again, and we're definitely going to talk about that, I think, when we get a little bit further along. I know I keep teasing about it, but we are going to do the the slot debates sooner rather than later. I think probably a little bit later on this spring. Those may be pre-recorded; they may not be live.
But we're just gonna remember we're gonna go in the actual chronological order. We'll do because I haven't read the evil. Is it Evil That Men Do? Is that what I'm thinking? It is
Spider-Man, Human Torch.
I'm thinking of something else. Kevin Smith, I think of that one.
Yeah, you're thinking of Evil.
That was Kevin Smith.
Smith did Evil That Men Do slot. I'm stupid.
But I haven't read Human Torch Spider-Man yet, so we'll start there first. And we'll just go and just do it chunks.
We're gonna do it in chunks. I'll put out like when we finally get ready to do it, I will put out like a big like social media post on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that when we get to that point. So the slot debates will ensue sooner rather than later. But speaking of people from the slot era. Let's talk about the new issue, the new #1 that came out today.
Oh boy.
It's called Non-Stop Spider-Man. Because So
I'm gonna read my history book.
I'm gonna make this very, 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 very brief. Basically, we get thrown into a very disorienting scenario where Peter Parker is being chased by a bunch of random thugs.
Media res.
That are it's a pulse-pounding, action-packed, adrenaline-pumping comic that goes through the 22 pages under the comic equivalent of the shaky can.
It's the very special drug episode, by the way.
Everything's askew. The panels are askew. They're not like straight on. There's this style that they do. Everything is just slightly off, and Peter's continuing to fight. He's having this conversation between Kelly and not our Kelly.
Actually, I did bring this up before we started, but I did some digging. Turns out these are the exact same characters from Spencer's Amazing Spider-Man #32 that he introduced at the beginning. I'm assuming because Nonstop was supposed to come out like immediately after 2099.
Yes,
but it didn't. As I mentioned before, it is the book that perpetually never came out until now. And so these characters are members of Peter's class in ASM 32. They're the ones that are like, oh, Parker Industries, we're never going to let that go.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, Peter's trying to save the life of his friend Kelly. There was a funeral for another one of their classmates who died through mysterious drug circumstances. And so, straight A students, they seem to be targeting affluent, smart people from ESU. That's the overall mystery. We then get a brief letter from our good friend Nick Lowe. He's not our good friend. He's just That's just
He's just a guy.
He's Zach's friend now.
yeah,
Zach loves him.
Well, of course, he printed my letter, so like he's been elevated in my eyes. But Lowe writes a brief one-page letter. We then cut to the second story, which is basically revealing who the big bad of this issue is.
Paul.
And Paul's excited because it definitely relates to the fact that Falcon and Winter Soldier is coming out next week, and Baron Zemo taking out some supposed Hydra true believers and doing it in a very ruthless style. And that is how. And then he announces that he's on his way to New York. So to be continued. So apparently Baron Zemo is the big bad of the story. Don't know anything other than that. It's very, very short read. Guys, thoughts? We'll start with Adam.
Oh man.
Paul's the one that had something to say about it, and he's like, "What? Why are you doing this to me?" Ah!
I'm closing with Paul because he's gonna have
fair. That's fair.
Okay.
No, that's good. That's a good call.
I think I'll try to keep this sort of brief because yeah.
What's your grade first?
B.
Okay. That's fair, Adam.
Like
fair.
I like it and I don't like it because like first of all, I'm fine with Bachalo's art, whatever. Spider-Man's cute, sure, fine, whatever. And I like the like kind of, diagonal panels and all that. That's kind of fine. It's like it's an easy read, like it kind of feels good to read, like it's very fast paced. Like in the, it all flows well, I think. What I don't like is Joe Kelly's writing this like it's some kind of noir mystery thing, which it is a mystery, but there's this noir tone, and I like crime stuff, I like noir stuff, but this, I feel this tone, like how he has Peter talk throughout this whole thing, that doesn't feel right to me. Like it feels off. I don't know. There's just something about it that's not quite gelling with me there. I guess I just feel like Peter doesn't really talk like a detective. He doesn't talk like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character in Brick, who was a high school student. And anyway, you'd have to see that movie to know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. It's like it's just kind of it's a weird one for me. But I guess like if we're gonna keep reviewing it, I'll keep reading it. I mean, it's fine. And also the Baron Zemo thing, like that was like, how do you do, fellow kids? Because like why is Zemo talking like a
Talking like me.
Like Neil, or he's my age. Like what is going on here?
He's like that.
I don't know how Paul feels about that, but because I know he's a big Baron Zemo fan from what I've gleaned. So
All right. So Neil,
I think I'm done.
I'm gonna be a lot meaner to it than Adam is. I'm gonna give it a C minus, actually, probably. So this book actually was kind of exhausting to read in a weird way. So not only was Bachalo's art really all over the place, as is usual with Bachalo, the major upside was that he didn't do his own colors this time. He had, I think, Jesus Evertov doing his colors.
It's much better, brighter color palette. This
yeah.
The problem is he's got so many like weird scattered lines everywhere that it's really hard to follow what's going on. I mentioned earlier before we started that like he doesn't, the colorist doesn't give, this isn't on Bachalo, but it is on the colorist, that he gives Derek, the male student, he gives him blonde hair instead of his black hair, and then he changes Kelly from a black woman to a white lady.
Yeah.
For no reason. But aside from that, like it's just way too frantic, and its pacing is all over the place, and it just feels like it feels like it's trying to be way too fast paced at once and tell its story all in one go. Venkman's like, now I'm trying to picture Neil wearing a Zemo costume. I could pull it off. I could pull off the ski mask and the domino cape and the domino jacket. But I don't know. Also, the diagonal paneling and the diagonal dialogue boxes, the internal dialogue boxes, those were obnoxious, and it actually like I don't want to say it hurt my head to read, but it was like getting I was like getting a migraine from reading it at that angle.
Okay, so that kind of leads me to one of my big points. I'm giving this a C as well, a straight C. I'm not giving it, anything lower than that, because I don't think it's fair to judge it on a single issue. However, this askew, shaky cam attempt of trying to be fast paced and like frenetic and stuff like that, and make it a bit disorienting. I understand what they're trying to do, so I appreciate the attempt. However, it's not my cup of tea. I didn't know who Kelly was. I didn't know who Derek was. There was no explanations as to who these characters were. Why am I supposed to care? Why am I supposed to care about people caring about these characters?
We didn't. I don't think Zach knew they were from the first
I didn't
police
either.
arc until I pointed it out.
I didn't either.
I don't think that I didn't know that either. Really.
I don't think that was important either, though.
Neil, I was like, oh, so these are okay. Now I'm kind of vaguely remembering these. Neil had to post the pages from that issue to jog my memory, because I'd completely forgotten it. So this debut issue really got hurt by the fact that these characters were introduced in ASM and they were going to be brought in to this particular. I also think this is one of the reasons that we've delayed the clairvoyant stuff and the ESU stuff, is because they were supposed to appear in this book. So unfortunately, this was a victim of the pandemic. But again, I'm like, okay, as I'm reading this, I'm like, I don't understand why I'm supposed to care about why Peter cares. That's a problem. It feels like I'm coming into the middle of an episode of a TV show, which
it's called in media res. It like starts in the middle of a thing.
Yeah, this is a trope that TV shows do all the time, where we start like halfway through or 3/4 of the way through the story, and then we go back via flashback. We really didn't even do that. It was a little bit of flashback, but not much. And I just the disconnection between the storytelling for me was like, okay, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it, really fast paced, really, really snappy. The artwork is probably some of Bachalo's best Spidey work that I've seen. It's still overly busy. It's still overly needlessly stylized, in my opinion, but I can accept that, knowing full well he's the main artist. Okay, cool. Also know there were some personal things relating to COVID, as pointed out by Neil, I think last episode. So I understand that there was some other extenuating circumstances. I really liked, truthfully, I much rather liked the Zemo bit at the end much better. In fact, I think that probably saved it from being a C-, truthfully, for me, which I was like, all right, okay, cool. Zemo as a Spidey villain, haven't seen that since truthfully, last time I saw Zemo and Spidey fight. So last time I saw Zemo and Spidey fight was back in Spectacular Spider-Man, Death of Vermin story arc, JMD Mateus, Sal Buscema. Right around issue 200. So it's been a long time. So there is a history there, but really, really enjoyed it, that particular story. So I'm like, all right, I'm down for a modern Zemo Spidey fight. Let's see what happens. So I'm all for it. I'll continue reading it, but I'm hoping that there will be some more depth to the storytelling, because right now Joe Kelly is very hot and cold with me, so we'll see what happens.
Is it bad that I didn't like the Zemo stuff? I'm not a big Zemo fan to begin with, but
I didn't like how his dialogue.
I know that Adam kind of pointed out the "How do you do, fellow kids" kind of angle to it, and like I get what Kelly was trying to do. That's how Hydra has to evolve.
Yeah,
but it just came off really. It's where you where you like know what they're trying to do, but it doesn't work, and that makes it kind of worse.
Sure.
That's how I kind of felt with Zemo, and it's mainly it might just be because I'm not a huge Zemo or Hydra fan, so it just kind of fell flat for me.
Right.
I didn't think that Baron Zemo was the kind of guy to, from my very little knowledge of the character. I don't know. Like, I just the dialogue is off for me. It doesn't seem like this, big bad Captain America villain.
This isn't the guy who made the Thunderbolts.
Right.
This is the guy who pranked me at my college frat party and then, gave someone a swirly.
I totally disagree. After literally, I just read the last 12 issues or the first 12 issues of Thunderbolts this last weekend. Like, I literally just read it. I guess for me, I'm going now because Zach just left. So
just go.
So I personally really like this issue. I was not expecting to like it, to be honest, because I'm not a big Chris Pachalo fan. And I think that I mean, I haven't hated all this stuff. There's elements of his stuff that I like, but I just, I think you guys all nailed it. The coloring really helped a lot at least for the most part. I think this comic book and his art, especially, I thought that the details that the coloring brought out made his work really, really shine, to be quite honest. I really liked it. Joe Kelly and obviously Chris Pachalo have done some solid work back in the day on the Gauntlet. They did some cool stuff back then. Now, it wasn't all, lollipops and rainbows, back then either.
Don't get me started on shit. Don't get me started on shit.
I'm not. Don't worry. I'm not even bringing it up. You brought it up, not me. But
that was Zeb Wells. That was Zeb Wells.
That wasn't Joe Kelly either. But they did some like the Hammerhead stuff. I thought was okay. Granted, that was a little more. The art was a little bit more avant-garde, if you will, and I was not as into it. This to me feels like a great balance of Pachalo kind of pushing the medium a little bit differently, and I think also playing to the strengths of the comic medium of itself. So I for one love the lopsided panels. I thought that was a really good touch. I thought it was like you brought up a great point, Zach, that it gave it an energy. And whether you like that energy or not, it's whatever. It's within the panels that you have to kind of decide for yourself. But there is some great dynamic stuff in this that I was really captivated by. Now, like Neil brought out, that I had no idea who those characters were. I didn't know idea where this even took place in the timeline. That's probably my biggest criticism of this book, is that I have really no idea, like what's going on with these characters. Now, what I will disagree with Zach is that you said that there's no reason for me to care about this. Why does Peter care about these characters? Peter cares about everybody. That's how Peter. Okay. That's how Peter is.
But what I mean by that is, as a reader, why should I care about Peter caring about the characters?
Because you care about Peter. Because Peter cares about him. He cares about everybody. So you see, that's what I project myself onto Peter, because in a way where he's even people he just knows from a very any way he knows them, he's going to protect them. I've been reading the my chronological Spider-Man stuff, and right now I'm in the ESU stuff, and there's people he cares about that he shouldn't care about, and he does. There's the Marcy girl, right? I mean,
Marcy King. When you're in that era, you're like, why does he care about Marcy? Why does he care about Deb? Like Deb, he's a very bad. Like, okay,
he's not even a boyfriend to her.
Yeah, I can completely understand your point about Peter caring. My point is like, because I don't, it kind of dovetails off of your criticism of the fact, where does this take place? When does this take place? Who does this take place?
That is fair, and that is fair.
Not first. And I get that they were trying to, okay, we're going to disorient you, and then we're going to get to the story later on. Cool.
I don't think they were trying to disorient you, though. I don't agree with that. That's just me.
Well, it's just because I feel like that they wanted to, like, they want the name of the title to be reflected in the storytelling.
I think it's there, and I think it works.
I do think it works on a basic fundamental level. For me, I need a little more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and my worry is this going to be very decompressed to the point of, is it going to, like, because this was a very, so people talk about today's ASM issue as a quick issue. I'm sorry, that's much more dense than this number one.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if I agree with that. This issue has a lot going on in it, and like it goes by fast. But I don't know. I think it's. Go ahead, Zach.
I remember really disliking Superior Foes and then it grew on me. So I'm perfectly willing to give this
you are.
shot that it deserves, and
So-
say, okay, you know.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. And I know that about you. I know that you're willing to, you're coming in with an open mind and you're willing to give it a chance. And I appreciate that. But everyone, except for Neil. I'm just kidding. No, because I know.
Like what Matt Bird said. He's like, so nonstop Spider-Man is really much. It's not quite like J.J. Abrams.
It's better. It's better.
Okay, I will say this about nonstop. I have dunked on nonstop today, but I'm gonna stop you at saying it's as bad as Abrams Man. Abrams Man is like offensively bad.
I can't wait to buy the trade for that.
Nonstop Spider-Man is like ignorant bad, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Hold on.
It's like, guys. The trade of Abrams Man is out. It's called Bloodline or something. Don't buy it.
I'm gonna wait till it gets super cheap.
Normally I'm not one. I really sometimes it's fun to rag on a series. Okay, and Abrams Man was one of those that I had a lot of fun ragging on. However, in terms of opening issues, Joe Kelly, being an experienced writer, not only television. This felt very much like a TV Spider-Man kind of TV show, the way he wrote this particularly. And being a veteran of the comic industry and writing some of the best Deadpool of all time. If you really like Deadpool, go read the Joe Kelly, Joe Mad original series of Deadpool back in the 90s. It's fantastic. It's what everybody that likes it, everyone that English is still my first subject. Or still my first language. See, I can't even make that joke.
Blarf.
Everyone likes Deadpool, like Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. The fundamentals are in that Joe Kelly run. So I am like Joe Kelly comedy. I am all for. Give me Joe Kelly writing comedy. And I'm like, okay, I want to like Joe Kelly's Spider-Man. But it's been a very hot and cold experience for me. So I'm like, all right, cool.
I know you love Grim Hunt.
Sorry. Okay.
Hold on. Zach, let me
Paul,
please.
Zach, can you kick him out of the room?
Hold on. I actually don't hate Grim Hunt, but that's just me. No, I just want to say right now that when I look at this comic book, and again, everyone goes into a comic book or any whatever with their own pretenses and what they want out of it. And for me, I just want to be entertained and I want to have a good, fun Spider-Man story. And they gave it to me. And I'm in. Like I think the biggest criticism I think is Neil brought up is valid. It's you don't really know the characters. You don't really kind of remember them from where they were. That is the biggest problem. Though now knowing that, I'm like, it doesn't really change it for me. I still like the issue the same amount. So because I got great Spider-Man and Pachalo delivered, man. He gave us some dynamic stuff. So I'm into it. And I also like the fact that we got the introduction of this new villain with Baron Zemo. And I will say that Baron Zemo has been written all kinds of different ways. And again, there's the JMD Mateus way. He's the one who introduced this version of Baron Zemo from back in the day, which I just got, by the way. Hold on a second. I just want to bring this up here. This is a fantastic run by I went and bought it, but besides my wife knowing, she was very unhappy with me. But no, like it's I read it from years ago on Unlimited. Read it. It's super, super good. JMD Mateus, Mike Zeck, they are just like chef's kiss.
Peanut butter and jelly, man. I mean,
it's so good. It's so good. So then
I would say the only time I felt DeMatteis was better than with Zach was when he was with Sal. And then that was like those three guys.
Yeah. So phenomenal. So anyway, really quickly about the Zemo characterization. So Zemo was kind of like this more of a, I'm not gonna say cackling, but more of a revenge villain at that point. And then Grunwald brought him in for Bloodstone, and Bloodstone is like, he's like just over the top ridiculous. Like he's just like all the time. He's ridiculous.
He's like the Claw from Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, exactly. And again, but then you read like all these other books, he's just all over the place. And he's just an over-the-top character. And I think that's what you're reading in in this book, because when I read the dialogue in this comic book from him, I never once thought of like he was trying to be cool or whatever. He's just being Zemo. He's just he's a little over the top. If you even read the Kurt Busiek Thunderbolt stuff, he's totally over the top, and he's just like super but not an over the top like Jim Carrey way. He's over the top of whatever he's like doing and like at that moment. So like whether at that moment he's like the leader, so he's like behind the scenes being like, Moonstone, what are you doing? Come see me right now as Citizen V. And he's like, Zemo's unhappy with you. Ah,
you can't be in love with Mach. You can't be in love with Mach 1.
Yeah. Songbird, what are you doing?
You can't be horny.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. The Marvel. Normally I'm all about the '90s. I have not I almost picked up both the Mach 1 legend and the Citizen V legend because those are both really good.
I need a Citizen V right now.
So Paul, can I offer a compromise on my thoughts on this issue? Absolutely. That I like Kelly's depiction of Peter, but I don't care about the world around him.
I think that's fair. But to me, as a Spider-Man fan, I don't really need everything around Peter to like matter. As long as Peter's invested in it, that's what makes me invested into it. So I project myself on the Peter. I don't need to care about the people around him necessarily. Especially for something like this that I feel it's very like kind of it's going to be wrapped up quickly. I don't mind it, but if this was like a J. Jonah Jameson thing, or it was again like just kind of brushing him off like that, or you get what I'm saying? It was a little more the characters were a little more investing, I guess already. I'd be a little bit more upset or whatever. But yeah, I don't really care about the characters. I care about Peter, and Peter cares about them, so I'm good. So, but yeah, I totally am with you on that. I am with you on that.
So final question. Under 12 issues, do you think it goes over 12 issues?
No.
Is it getting 12? Is it getting 12?
Even if it sells well, there's been so many editorial delays that chronologically it makes no sense. Plus, I'm pretty sure Bachalo is gonna get another project that he's more interested in, considering all the personal problems he's had that happened while this book was in production. And
to be quite honest, I think you'd all agree with me here. The title, Nonstop Spider-Man, is it's more of like a aesthetic than it is like a title. Does that make sense?
It's more of a branding thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's more of a theme.
Yeah.
It's it's a very odd title.
Well, no, I get it because it's like what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like, the plot keeps moving forward, action. Like there's a mystery and I'm going to solve it. Like I'm going back, and, like he's zipping around and it's like, okay, like I got to figure out, what happened to this Austin kid. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Which I get.
Wait a minute. I'm an Austin kid.
Truthfully, I appreciate how
there's no time to lose.
The side titles and make them their own thing, very much like the 80s, where the 80s had, Web of
the Dark Book. Yeah.
The stuff outside of, Slice of Life was spectacular, and then Amazing was, where the bombastic big things occurred during the 80s. So I think that they're trying to bring that aesthetic because of the fact that your lead writer in Nick Spencer is a child of the 80s and 90s and understands what worked about that era. So, we'll see. But yeah, no, like I say, it's a good book. It's not a great book. We'll see what happens, but obviously Paul liked it the most.
Here's a question that I think Paul will like as a music. Do you think this is the kind of comic that like advertisers put Kanye West's Power over?
No, that's a great point. I mean, I don't mind that it's kind of on the nose and brandy, like I get it. Like for me, I agree though that it's not, I don't think it lasts 12 issues because I don't think I'd want that for every issue, even past 12. I like the idea of it being its own isolated like maxi series. Yeah. Like that's cool. I think that's go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please. No, please.
Someone go. I'll go.
I don't get I haven't gotten the feeling that this was going to last over whatever. This always seemed like, a limited thing to me.
I agree. Yeah. What were you saying, Zach?
What's your grade?
A solid B. I think a solid B.
There you go. Respectable.
Okay. Wow, how about that?
so I can display it on the screen for everybody to see. Paul's grade was, in fact, a B. Sorry. There you go. Bam. All right, Paul grade. So grades on this.
Take it off very quickly.
Paul,
Be gone.
and a C from me.
That's not bad scores. That's not a bad average.
No, listen.
And I gave it a B.
It is okay.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, I think I think it's valid.
There's some people online that are like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest issue ever," and I'm like, "Wait, what?"
I did see a thing that was like something gave it 5 stars or 4.8 or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, it wasn't that good.
Now
So,
you're reaching for Marvel shill bucks.
yeah, but definitely got that to me, and with this issue, today's ASM very much felt like that. So last couple issues have been knocking it out of the park for me. But we will be back. Okay, so let me kind of explain really quickly, because I think we're going to wrap the show up here in just a second. The scheduling. So no Make Mine Mayday this Friday. Going to be next Friday. No Spideydude Experience next week, because A, we don't have an issue, but also B, the reason why we're not doing Make Mine Mayday on Friday and is that it's spring break. I'm going to go see my kid. So I will be in Houston, closer to that guy, as I'm pointing to Neil.
As I'm winking ominously.
Yeah. So I'll be in Houston, going to see my daughter. Obviously won't be in the man cave spider office to be able to do these particular episodes. So, like I say, on behalf of my 3 fine gentlemen here, I think we're going to wrap the show up. Start wrapping the show up here. I want to thank again.
Oh God, turn it down.
Yeah, I forgot this one was a little bit louder than the other one. Big thanks to, of course, our Patreon subscribers, Vinkman and Scott. You can always go to patreon.com/Spideydude Network. Reminder to leave us a voicemail at 818-925-6631 and email on SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com. That is the email for the entire network, so just shoot us an email. Tell us how you like things. Be sure to also leave us feedback on your favorite. We want our Patreon ideas as well. But leave us feedback on your favorite podcatcher. We want to get better. Obviously, we want to know if you're enjoying it. If you're listening to the audio versions, obviously, we want to know what you guys think. Of course, you can always like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube. Let people know about us. We've gained a few subscribers recently, and we're really thankful for that. So on behalf of Neil, Adam, Paul, myself, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to the Spideydude Experience. We will be back in a couple of weeks where we cover issue 62 of the Volume 5 of Amazing Spider-Man. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.